Hey Limit Breakers, if you landed on this channel and you don't know where to start here. And this isn't one of the flashiest videos, it's not going to be polished, it's going to be real and direct, and it's going to be unedited. And this video is designed for those that want to create more quality life, more peace, more zen, more fulfilling, and just being real. And that's the part where I was struggling with. And this is exactly how Limit Break Lifestyle started and why it started. And I will give you a background of how it all started as well and where it all came from. And it's important that I share with you my journey and where each stage that I happen to go through, because this is the framework that we've designed and it has been working for our clients and people that we have in our lives. And time again we see the transformation happen by going through these frameworks and the work that we do. And here's the part that I struggle to want to share, is the part of where I grew up as a British born Chinese, and my father was an alcoholic. He's also passed now. And this is where the journey really shifted for me, but we'll get into that later. He also had trouble with debt. That was really something that I struggled with, that I'd help out with, and there is still part of it that I'm still helping out with. However, that is just part of life, right? We try and help our parents because they've given us given us a good life. They've provided shelter, food, security, everything that we could ask for. And it's one of the ways that I could help and repay it, and do what I can. Now, when I was 13 years old, I used to work in a Chinese takeaway of my cousins, and it was for the additional pocket money that I wanted to earn, because I wanted to spend things for myself. I wanted to buy Legos, I wanted to buy games, I wanted to go out, and I didn't want to keep asking my parents for money because I knew how much they were in terms of debt, and I didn't want to put more burden on them. So I went out to earn my own income on the side for spending for entertainment, as you do as a teenager. And this isn't to get sympathy whatsoever. This is just me telling you why it'll matter when it comes along for the after. And I have notes here just to make sure that I'm staying on track, because I like to ramble. I want to keep myself from rambling, but also get to the point as well. Now, also, there was a desire for me to create a better lifestyle, but also to help out the family as well and ease the burden for my parents. And it was finding a purpose. I was still also looking for purpose outside of myself. And what can I do to, I don't know, find more fulfillment and more life, and where this journey is taking me? Of course, I climbed that Asian prophecy that everyone talks about, the doctor, lawyer, and accountant. My skill set and educational academic knowledge was very limited. I wasn't interested in that area. I got into IT, I got into digital marketing, I got into gadgets and tech. That is just who I am, and I'm just a nerdy introvert guy, and that took my interest. And Doctor, Lawyer, and Accountant did not meet those requirements for me, so I became a digital marketer. I climbed the graduation, the school, the college, the university, and graduated, and then getting a job. And of course, when I started climbing the job ladder, I got involved with amazing entrepreneurs as my directors of a small business, and they taught me a lot of things about entrepreneurship and business and sales and marketing, being a human being, but also just being respectful, and also how to use and utilize my skill set and my knowledge to help more people. And from then on, I ventured out. I wanted to test my skills out in SMEs, and then I jumped into corporate, and that's when I suppose became a topic worth talking about by my parents, because they felt that I, now earning a lot of money on the salary check for corporate, and that was the next best thing after doctor, lawyer, and accountant is corporate job. So I take it. And it was one of those, like, I felt like, oh, I feel validated. I felt approved, because they were always concerned that I never had doctor, lawyer, and accountant, and therefore not earn a great living. So I was quite chuffed, getting to that point. However, within a year of getting that corporate job, I felt completely empty. I felt completely unfulfilled. I wasn't living. I was working probably like 18-hour days. Didn't have much of a life. Health was on decline. I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't training properly. I barely got to spend time with my girlfriend slash now fiance. I was miserable. I was completely empty. And at that point, I just felt like a unconscious zombie, because I had no life. I was just working forever. I barely had time to spend with friends. I wasn't connecting with anyone. I wasn't able to social much. On weekends, I'd be thinking about work as soon as it hit Saturday evening. I'd be thinking about work on full of Sunday, and then plan for the week ahead. It was terrible. So that was the time when I was also burnt out, completely mentally and physically. I was ill. I was in my bed, what felt like a deathbed, because I was ill for like a month. I wasn't eating well. I wasn't sleeping well. I had fevers, and I had a lot of dark thoughts, because I wasn't able to move and get out of bed and function. I had suicide thoughts. It was really dark. I was going through that dark tunnel where I couldn't see a light. And at that point, I really wanted to I thought, if I wasn't here anymore, then who's going to know? I didn't tell much friends. I didn't tell any friends. I didn't reach out to for anyone. I didn't ask for help. I was isolating myself. And I was completely empty. I just thought, what's the point of me being here if I'm going to just work, 16 hours days and not have a life. So life had no meaning then whatsoever. And I thought the world would be better off without me. Like, what difference am I making in the first place? Like, I could be replaced in a heartbeat, you know. I'm just a cog in a wheel that can be replaced quickly. So it'd make no difference whether I'm there or not at work anyway. And that's when I started to spiral, going downwards. And thankfully, I had my brother Iklock, who I now call brother. He's not my real brother, but pretty much is my real brother. I reached out. He was the only guy I called and I spoke to, because at the time we had a few projects together. I was helping him out with a few other projects that he had going on with digital marketing stuff, and we jumped on a call, and then I was like, bro, I want to just tell you something. Like, I said, I don't want to be here anymore. And he was just like, what do you mean you don't want to be here anymore? Like, are you done with work, or you don't want to do digital marketing for me, or like, what is it? I was like, no, I don't want to be here. Like, it was a serious matter. I was like, I don't want to be alive. And he was just like, okay, thank you for sharing. And this is how he is. And he was like, thank you for sharing. So, what do you want? And I was like, what do you mean? What do I want? I don't want to be here. That's what I want. And he was like, no, 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 no. What do you want? And I was like, okay. What do you mean? Like, he goes, no, seriously. What do you want out of life? Like, what do you want to create? What do you want to do with your life? And I was like, well, I want to help people break out their limitations, because I love Final Fantasy, and there's no doubt about it. The name Limit Break Lifestyle came from Final Fantasy 7. And when you charge up, you get your full power and you become like invincible. That's what I want to help people become. Even though I wasn't doing it for myself at that time, but that's what I wanted, right? That's what I wanted. I always wanted to help people. It was like, cool. So you want to create leaders, people who's willing to take ownership and responsibility and accountability and just break through their limitations. I was like, yeah, something like that. And that's where it came about. I was like, I'm going to call it Limit Break Lifestyle. And he's like, wow, okay, cool. So that's what you want. So it'll make sense for me to jump on board and help you out with this, because I love the work about the inner leadership and, how you're overcoming limitations. And I was like, fantastic, great to have you on board. And he became my co-founder. And this is how Limit Break Lifestyle became a thing. And I had a sense of clarity, but also I had a sense of purpose now, because I never asked myself that was, what do I want out of life? And if I was able to find something, what would it be and what would it look like? I don't know. That's the future. But I know I wanted to do something for people. And because I never had anyone in my life in terms of community, I grew up as the only child. I also grew up with my cousins, which was nice. But, I only get to see them when I get dropped off, when my parents go to work and I get dropped off by them to get looked after by my cousins. But it wasn't the same, right, growing up. And then also I had a lot of different groups of friends growing up and all sorts. And I always wanted to try and fit in and find people to connect with. I'm also very bad at socialing. Like I said, I'm an introvert who now have developed into an ambivert. So, and I can connect on social nowadays, but previously, before who I am now, there was a version of me that did not have those skills. And the skills that I have developed now is years of public speaking, going out to conferences, speaking on stage, and polishing and learning how to communicate. And this is something that have worked on the last couple of years. And so I'm more comfortable being on screen and on camera, and you see some of my social videos that I've been doing, and I'm comfortable doing that. Now, the challenge is making a video like this, where it's long form, it's unedited, it's gonna be how it is. But so once I've got my, again, I'm waffling, I've got the clarity about what I want to do. I started to look at, I started to connect the dots, right? I started to connect the dots that I had. Because before I decided I wanted to take my own life and all that stuff, right? Before I wanted to end it all, a friend, a friend in our circle actually, actually really took their life, and it was until we attended a funeral where I felt the impact of ending it all. And yes, it was by suicide, so it was intentional that our friend took their own life. And that got me thinking about. And the worst thing is, I saw the post that they put out like the night before. And I just scrolled past because we were just doom scrolling, right? I noticed that I saw it, I read it, and I was like, oh. And I thought nothing of it. And I could have reached out. And, that is the thing that keeps me awake at times, when I knew I could have reached out. But I didn't, because I thought nothing of it. And that's the thing with social media nowadays. We're so connected, but yet we're so disconnected. At the palm of our hands, we have a device that can connect us to anyone. But yet we feel so isolated and disconnected at the same time. And it's something that I had to open the door for delivery. So therefore I had to pause, and this is the only edited part. I won't be trimming any more things. So this is how real it is. Like, I'm recording middle of the day, and delivery comes. That's what happens. So where was I? I felt responsible for not reaching out, and that's where I felt frustrated, because I've been doing personal development at that time for at least 3-4 years, and I learned a lot, but I wasn't sharing a lot. And I felt responsible because I felt like I should be sharing what I've been learning about, challenges and limitations and mindset, leadership, energy, and self-awareness, and all of these things that I've been studying and learning over the last couple of years. But I never shared it to the public. I just kept it to myself. I just kept absorbing content, absorbing knowledge, but I wasn't sharing the knowledge to people around me. And I felt responsible. I felt like I was doing them and everyone else a disservice, because I'm keeping all the knowledge to myself, and it could have helped. Maybe I could have helped. I don't know. And we don't know whether it would have helped or not, even if I shared the knowledge that I've had. But we don't know what we don't know what we don't know, and it's too late. But it's never too late to make changes and make new things happen, and therefore this is why Limit Break Lifestyle has become a thing, and why I'm making video like this to share with you, because I could have ended it all, but because I had a lot of knowledge and also methods and things that I had not tried, I was holding myself back. And the thing is, it's fear of showing up at that time. I was scared to put myself out there on social media and have that kind of conversation. So the thing is, the version you see in me now, is yes, it's a lot of work that's been done, but it came from that decision when I made it to about taking my power back, right, from the past and what's currently going on back then, and I've made changes. I quit the corporate job. I went out to create Live and Break lifestyle with him, and just taking 100% responsibility for everything that was coming through. Because yes, a lot of things wasn't my fault, but it was my responsibility to make choices, and that's the difference. It's when you start making that one decision, that choice that you want to make, and the decision was the beginning of that journey, and that's through the 5 stages, and that's what the 5 stages of life is the ones that I've lived, the ones I've watched others navigate, and this is what this channel is about. It's what this series is about, and I'm going to introduce you what the framework is. It's not a lesson; it's a map, right? And this is the map that I wish someone had handed me back in 2014 when I went through that downward spiral. But I suppose we have to experience these kind of challenges in order to become stronger and something to learn from, right? So the one thing that I wish people told me was that you're not broken, you're not behind, you are exactly where you are, and because that's where you need to be on that specific journey. And just because that door did not open for you doesn't mean there isn't another door for you in the next place. And it's always another door for you if you keep opening the doors until you find the right door, and that's the journey through life. And so this is the 5 stages of life's journey. Stage 1 is the struggle, and the archetype here is the victim. This is the word that I use carefully because it can be, it feel like very, I don't know, aggressive in a way, because I lived there, and the truth is this stage doesn't make you weak, right? It makes you someone whose circumstances have taught them in the world that the world operates against them, right? This is the part where I was blaming a lot of people, including myself. I was angry with the world. I was blaming people outside of me, and it was all about me, right? I was pointing fingers at everyone else, except myself. Until I took the responsibility to be accountable and to take ownership of all the goods and all the bads in my life. I had to make peace with it. And until then, I was stuck in that stage. And the thing is, that was the core belief. The core limitation here is the limiting beliefs, right? The thoughts that run on repeat in the background. It won't work for me. I'm not good enough. There's no way out. These are the thoughts that I had in my head. And the thing is, these are all just opinions, and it wasn't true. But it felt like facts, right? It felt real. But that's the shift out of this stage, is taking that 100% responsibility, not for what happened, but for what comes next. How you respond, how you choose to respond. And then stage 2 is the preparation stage. This is the archetype. This is the stage what we like to call the dabbler. So this is the stage where I was at, and where a lot of people I have met are stuck at. We've woken up, you're inspired, you're consuming books, you're consuming podcasts, going to every seminar, you're going to all these different growth development places where you feel like you're really learning and getting somewhere. Feel like you're making this massive momentum. and like you're shifting in the right spaces. But then the core limitation here is fear. Is you take up all of this information, but you don't apply anything, and it disguises itself as logic. Like, I'll start when I'm ready. I need to learn a bit more first. I need more knowledge. I don't feel like I'm gonna get there yet. Once the timing is right, I'm gonna start. And a lot of people can live in this preparation stage for years until they break out of the cycle. Sometimes decades, because there's been events where I go to where I keep seeing the same faces. I was one of them. I'm guilty of that. And I was like, why do we keep seeing the same faces everywhere? But there's no bad thing about that. Like, some people just love to learn, and they do get somewhere with it. But there's a lot of people that do stay stuck as well in that place. So you've got to be careful about that balance. And that's what the thing is preparation feels safe, right? It feels safer than actually taking action, because action feels scary. You know, you have to put yourself out there. You have to do things. You have to put yourself outside your comfort zone. And so this is the shift out of stage two, is walking directly towards the things that you're most afraid of, because fear is false evidence appearing real, and you see and hear about this all the time again. But this is the stage where I was at as well, because when I first started living Brick Lifestyle, I come from a digital marketing background. I like to work behind the screens. So you see in the dynamic between Ick and I, he was the trainer, the head lead, and he was the one that was like the front of the business, even though I was there as well. But I operated from the technical side of the business. So I was doing all the systems, the processes, the digital marketing, the artwork, the design, the flyers, the banners, the AV, the online courses, the websites, da 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 da. You see where I'm going with this? I'm hiding behind him because I was afraid to put myself out in front, into people, and also my public speaking skills was not up to scratch at that point. I hated public speaking. And so over the last couple of years, I joined public speaking classes, clubs, and worked on my communication skills. And also, I was facing my fears head on. So when I first did my first talk, if you want to call that talk, a speech, even probably not even a speech, there was a play a thing where we call table topics, where you speak for 2 minutes about a certain topic. I think I went up there to try and do a speech for 2 minutes, but I was off within 10 seconds. I just went something like, the wall is red, and then kind of like stormed back straight to my seat because I didn't want to be on stage and didn't want to see all the people in the crowd. And I was like, I don't know, I had this massive fear about it. So I had to face my fears, and so that's what it is. That's an example. And then stage three is called Journey, and the archetype here splits into the traveler, but also the settler. So this is the stage where people don't warn you about, and because you've done all the hard work, life has generally improved, and the danger is that it starts to feel like enough. It feels comfortable, like you're making progress in life. Everything starts to be settled and like comfortable and cushy. So the traveler keeps pushing, and the settler stops the moment it becomes comfortable. Like years of like struggle is now like, ooh, this is very good. This feels good. This is comfortable. And that's the core limitation here, is the comfort zone. And the only way it expands is through deliberately doing things that genuinely scare you. Getting comfortable was the most dangerous thing that ever happened to me, because I felt like when I was in corporate, I was comfortable, nice salary, everything was getting paid. But at the same time, I was feeling unfulfilled, and empty. Stage 4 is the challenge. This is the archetype is the challenger. So 5% of the people reach this stage and maybe sustain it. Laser focused, relentless, nothing stops you. But this is the trap that's invincible. And I had this with our client on another call recently. And this is called the negative vision. This was something that I thought I wanted as well. And my initial vision was that I wanted to become financially free. So therefore, I was chasing a lot of things about like passive income, investments, trading, property, digital marketing, e-commerce, drop shipping, da 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 da. Like, I thought I had to get one of these working before I can start actually helping people. I thought I had to be financially ready first before I started putting myself out there to help people. That was my negative vision. And this was the goal that, built around what you want to avoid rather than what you actually truly love. What I truly loved was helping people break out their limitations. But financial freedom, the security, not being stuck, like proving the people wrong, and these were the things that sounded great, that like motivating, inspiring. I was like, did it. But then I noticed that this was the wrong thing that I was going for. Once I started to work about our super consciousness and creating things that we love and how to express ourselves fully. And because the thing is, you cannot run away from something forever and call it a destination. The shift is redirecting from avoidance to love. And that's the thing that I thought I had to go through. I thought I needed passive income and that all of that before I could start actually truly helping people. I don't know why. That was just something that a negative vision that I didn't realize I had. So it could be a trap. Like I said, it's a blind spot that we had for a long time, and until we realized it, we're chasing something really bad, something really wrong here. So that's a very how should I say it, a trap that no one really realizes that they could be at. And number 5 is stage 5, the lifestyle. The archetype here is the limit breaker. Surprise. Doing what you love and loving what you do, because creating is an expression, not a performance. And here's the thing is, there's no need for external approval here. So if you wasn't getting paid, you didn't get recognized, would you still do the same thing if you wasn't getting paid for it? And that's usually a sign. You look at people who love painting. If they don't get paid, they'll still paint. People who create music, if they don't get paid, they'll still create music, because it's that true expression that they have, and it's something that they love doing. They love creating. So that's the beautiful thing about stage 5, is that there is no ceiling. Mastery is infinite, and stage 5 people don't coast around here. They just get deeper. And that's the map. That is the 5 stages of life journey. And if one of the stages made you uncomfortable just now, and you know which one, the one that made you feel uncomfortable, or the one you skimmed past a little too quickly, is the one that you're probably in. Because we don't like to face the truth. And that's the power of the map, right? The power of the map, it shows you where you are, even when you're not ready to admit it. Like if you get lost, the map will tell you exactly where you are at. And that's why this series has been created. And I've been on this journey and I'm still on this journey, but I have helped a lot of people navigate it. And I know that the one thing that I want to give you is not more inspiration, because we don't need that, but also the thing is with personal development, it's full of it, right? Inspiration that hits you on a Saturday and then just fades by Tuesday. And what I want to give you is a map that makes Tuesday make sense, and a way to understand where you are at. And here's the thing, like, what's keeping you there? So that the discomfort that you feel, like it feels being too confusing and starts being more navigatable, like somewhere where you can start driving towards, start walking towards, wherever you want to head towards. There we go. Now the thing is, each video of this series is dedicated to one stage, and not a brief overview, but and not a quick explainer. It's a full conversation about what it actually feels like to be in that stage, what kept me there, but also what finally moved me as well. And I'll tell you my story, the parts that are uncomfortable to say out loud, the thoughts that I couldn't tell anyone, the friend that I lost. Not because I want your sympathy, but because this is just being specific about what helps and what helps you break through that, because the truth is more than that. And at the end of every video, there is one ask. It's not something to buy or something to join, but just to be honest with yourself about where you actually are. Not where you wish you were, not where you present yourself to be on LinkedIn, where you actually are. And being really real, because this is where the shift happens. When you start being real with yourself. Not the mask that you put in front of yourself whenever you go out to different people, different meetings, different places. I want you to take off that mask and be real, because that's where the change happens. And you can't get anywhere until you're honest about your starting point. And we all start somewhere. Like, here's another example. I started running 5 months ago. I could not even run 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I was struggling. And I kept running. I kept pushing myself week after week. Over the last 5 months now, I'm training for a marathon a year later. And that's ambitious. But I am going to do whatever it takes to train for it, strengthen myself into it, and prepare for it, and get it done properly. Again, I had to be honest about my fitness. My fitness was terrible. So I had to face it, break through that fear, and get on with it, take accountable for it, keep working on it, and progress, because that's the only way we can grow. Aside from that, that's the game, right? The game is the marathon. Life is a marathon. It's not about shortcuts. It's not about getting the quick wins. It's about doing the work. And there's no hiding from the work. That's the reality that I've been reflecting on as well on this journey. Now, the assessment, how do you, before you get into the assessment, it takes you a couple of minutes to get through, and it tells you exactly where you are at with the 5 stages that you're in right now, and it's not based on how things look, but on how they actually feel. So that's the how we've been creating the assessment. And not which stage you aspire to be at, not which stage that sounds the most impressive. It's which stage that you're actually in. And the thing is, I want to take you on to this journey before we, start watching other videos in the series. Is that if you skip the assessment and go straight to the stage that you think sounds good, sounds right, you might miss the other foundations before that. And yes, you could think that you're further ahead than where you are at, but sometimes you might not be as well, because it doesn't sound as good, it doesn't sound as nice. And when we face the things that we don't like, that's where the real growth begins. So you probably would be best if you watched it from intro to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you understand each stage, and that you know that you might not be lying to yourself. Because the thing is, you might find yourself watching the video and goes, yeah, this does not sound like me. And that might mean you might have skipped the stage that you're actually at. So be wary about that one. Try not to skip forward, just to make sure you get through each one. And the assessment actually removes the guesswork anyway. It gives you the honest answer. And then you can go watch the video after that if you want. So, number 1 is take the assessment. Link will be in the description. Be honest. Be really, really honest about every question that you answer. And then step 2, watch the video for your stage, the one the assessment pointed to. You can watch the others if you want to get a brief understanding of what each stage entails as well. And then step 3, if you read in the video that lands, if it describes your life more precisely than the one you're comfortable with, there's an application in the description for the Limit Breakers community. It's a weekly masterclass community. We have weekly evening calls. It's £395 a year, and it's application based. And the last question on the application is, are you truly ready to face your deepest fears? That is the question. Are you ready to face your fears? Because the thing is that we don't work with anybody. The reason why it is an application is because we want to make sure that you're ready to do what it takes to get through to the next stage. And I'm not going to tell you to join anything today. It's not to create that urgency or rundown clock, or tell you that spots are limited. It's not. It's the gap between who you are and who you're performing to be. The gap has a cost, and the longer it runs, the higher the cost. And I watched that cost take everything from someone I cared about. And I'm not going to watch it happen to you in silence. Take the assessment, watch the video, find out what there is that is uncomfortable for you. Because being uncomfortable is the beginning of being honest. And honest is the beginning of everything. And one more thing before I send you off to the assessment is I started this channel and the series because the room I needed in 2014 didn't exist. And I wished someone at that time could have looked me in the eye and say, I know exactly which stage you're in, and I know what's keeping you there, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. And not to be harsh, because being honest with someone is the most respectful thing you can do for them. You have a life you're supposed to be living, and not the one on paper, what looks good for people, not the one that gets approval and the one that gets validation, but the one that's been knocking on the inside of your chest, like the one that's getting louder every day. like something just hitting the back of your head, that's when you know something needs to be done and there's something missing. And this series is the map, the assessment is the starting point, and the decision to be honest with yourself, that's yours. And nobody can make it for you, nobody can time it for you until you're ready to commit to you. Because the thing is, if you're not ready and you're not sure, take the assessment and find out where you are. Everything starts from there.